What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Scale Riders podcast episode number 271. I'm your host, Edgar Vergara, also known as 65 Lokes. Man, this is going to be a recap regarding ACME Southern Nationals 2025 that just went down this last weekend on Saturday. And I just wanted to, tell you guys my opinion, the way I feel, and everything, the story, the journey from getting there and getting back, and my experience overall over the whole thing. I knew it was going to be a fast trip, especially flying in early Friday and also flying back early Sunday. I knew this was going to be a fast trip. I was going to be seeing friends. I was also going to be meeting friends that I have not met in person, but we have been friends online for years. And this was going to be the one place that was going to reunite us and bring us all together. At the same time, new friends from YouTube channels and other social media platforms. So, leading up to this event, the ACME Southern Nationals, my friend Dennis Matthews, my other friend Vision 124, George, I want to credit them because for many years since I've known them, they've always had expressed to myself, Armando, that you guys need to come to the show. They would always tell us, hey, if you guys ever get a chance to travel or want to check out a show out of state, out of California, this is the show to check out. You guys need to see the type of builds, the caliber of builds that people do out here. And Dennis and George have traveled a lot around the US, experiencing different model shows and seeing the types of work that people do in different parts of the country. They've been to California many times. They've been to Texas, Florida, and the East Coast, like New Jersey. And also Atlanta and Cartersville, where this event was taking place. So, they get to see all the different styles and all the different things that get built and get put on tables. And a lot of the times, we're lucky that we get to see a taste of it in magazines. When there's those issues that have those sections that premiere coverage from the event. So you only get a glimpse, but you don't get to see the whole full thing, right? And they kept telling us every year, finally, this year things aligned good for all of us. Armando's been busy. He's been traveling a lot around the country, doing presentations, especially with the RC cars, RC lowriders. Also, attending events. He's been doing speaking at events as well. The model shows. So there's constant for him, right? Traveling and stuff. And for myself, I've been busy a lot with my work, with family business, with my daughter, scaleriders.com, and family, just doing all that. And my other friends too, they're busy with their work and stuff. So it was one of those things where we talked about it ahead of time, and it was months ahead, and we decided, what? I think we need to go to this show. I think right now would be a great time. I already checked with my wife. We have nothing going on. The calendar's clear. Nothing pending major with my daughter's school that I need to be there. All the festivities for that will be after, when I get back from Atlanta, if I go, right? So for me, everything lined up, and I was like, I'm down. I'm gonna go. So, I talked to Armando. He said he was down. And then Juan Chevy Man, was also down. Then we started talking to Luis. Luis had said a long time ago he would be down too, but we finally really got together and talked about it and was like, all right, let's do it. If we're gonna do it, let's start buying our plane tickets and start to see where we're gonna stay, what hotel. So we went ahead months ahead and booked our ticket. I kept talking about it on the podcast and also, on my live streams, making it official that I was gonna go, mentioning it, right? But here's one mistake that I was making. I was jumping the gun. I kept talking about it, like, yeah, I'm gonna go, but I didn't even buy my ticket yet, right? And I knew that if I didn't buy my ticket, then obviously that doesn't mean I'm going. And if I'm gonna wait till the last minute, that plane ticket's gonna be very expensive, most likely going to deter me from even going, because I'm gonna be like, oh no, that's too expensive, I don't want to go. So I was like, because I was getting caught up too busy with stuff, so I was like, all right, let me just sit down real quick and let me look for a plane ticket. Started talking to George. He started breaking it down, who he's flying through and everything. And finally, I went ahead and selected my flight times and everything, and boom, booked my ticket. Grabbed all that information, sent it over to Armando, and then started sending it over to the guys. From there, we had our tickets ready to go. And, Luis, he flew out of San Francisco. We were flying out of LAX. So it tripped me out that Luis was able to find a flight leaving around the same time that we were leaving. But we were leaving from different areas, and we were going to land around the same time at that airport. So we go ahead and, Dennis gives me the info of what hotel he's staying at. So we booked the same hotel as him. And finally, we're getting hyped, It's coming up. I even started working on some models to want to take like some new stuff. But at the end, I got really caught up and busy with stuff that I needed to make sure everything was taken care of and sorted before I was going to leave on this trip. Even though it's a short trip, but still, you want to make sure everything is taken care of. So this way, nothing happens or you want to have everything all organized, So I was like, I'll just build these when I get back, it's all good. So we head out. I had to get up at like 2 a.m. that Friday. 2 a.m. By 2:30, I was out the door, driving on my way to LAX. I drove myself. I called Armando. He was up that early too, driving. And then I finally parked my car at one of the hotel parking lots, the parking structures that I had made a reservation. There was nobody that could take me to the airport at that time, So this was the best way. I had to drive myself, and it worked out great. I recommend that for anybody who's in a pinch like that, and, Uber is going to be too expensive if you're by yourself, or there's just no one that could take you. Just drive yourself, but ahead of time book that parking space. And, I get in there. I'm in there early. Our flight was leaving at 6 a.m. So, they recommend 2 hours before, and I was there even earlier than that. So by the time I was in the actual airport, like just chilling, waiting to meet with the guys, it was about like getting close to 4, like 3:30, between 3:30 and 4. Finally met with Armando, we kicked it, and then we went through security. I was already like in my mind thinking, all right, they're gonna scan our bags and they're gonna be like, all right, we gotta check everything, because we got model cars that have like little lights with little switches, little batteries, turntable platforms with batteries, stuff like that. And everything was cool. They never once told us open up nothing. They just scanned it, boom, keep going, don't even take off your shoes, keep going. And I mean, LAX is one of the strictest like search areas at an airport. Out of all the airports that I've gone through in the US, I've noticed LAX always takes the longest, and it's like a hassle, right? They check everything. And no, they didn't check anything. So I was like, all right, cool, we're good. I had my models up in my backpack. And then I had my little carry-on right there with some clothes and stuff. So then inside, Juan met us inside. We were already checked in. Then he got checked in, and then we were just chilling. Flew out. It was about like a 4.5 hour flight. We take off, and I mean, I'm not even tired. I'm pretty pumped. Adrenaline's running. I'm just like, oh man, I can't wait. We're on our way. Like so far, everything is going smooth. No delays. Everything is going smooth. Show up at the airport. We touch down. We go ahead and make our way to get our baggage that we needed to get. And then right there we met with George, Vision 124, and his friend Ricky the builder. Finally got to meet Ricky. And we all just hung out right there for a little bit. And then, they had to take off because we were waiting on Luis. Then Luis shows up like 10 minutes later. And now we're linked up all together now, the group of guys. So then from there, we were like, all right, cool. Let's head out. Let's make our way to the Uber area. And we ordered an Uber. The guy was like, I mean, there's Ubers everywhere, especially the airport. The dude was right there, like within minutes. He showed up, picked us up, and we headed out. It's about an hour drive from the airport to Cartersville. We did hit a little bit of traffic, and it took an hour. I would assume it would probably be a bit shorter if there was no traffic, but it wasn't that bad. It was pretty chill traffic, and we were just on our way there. The guys, everyone's all talking to the driver and stuff, and we're just kind of looking at the scenery, and the weather looked nice. It was super nice, and we were just so excited to get there to the hotel. We all check in. Everything's smooth. We we leave all our bags and everything from right there, and then we were like just chilling, and we were like, hey man, let's go eat somewhere. Let's go across the street. So we're just we want to go eat, and then after we were done eating, a couple of the guys had to hit us up like, hey, what's up, let's link up, where you guys at? So then we hit up, we talked to Frankie, Boulevard Resin. He's the gentleman that's putting together the show in April in Ventura. So he was out there, and he comes through to link up with us. And then Dennis Matthews links up too. He comes through. So now it's all of us, and we're just chopping it up, talking in the parking lot and stuff. And then from there, they were like, hey, let's head to the hotel where the host hotel that's hosting the event, pretty much like next door, because it's a big building, and right next to that big building where they had the ACME show was the host hotel. It's connected, walking distance. So we went over there. They were so nice. They were cool. They're our homies. They were like, hey, get in the car. We're all gonna mob together. So that helped us like not getting an Uber, right? So we all just headed out together, and we pull up to the spot. Once we got to that area, I went live on my phone, because I knew that, I wanted to share with everybody what was our experience and what kind of like goes down, what to expect when you come to this event. Dennis had mentioned that there's a cutoff time of when you could pre-register right there the day of, or you could do it online. You could do it from home, leading up before, print out the papers at home and everything and bring it in. I didn't do that. I just was like, well, I kind of want to experience, because that's what I've heard, that you could register that night and stuff like that. So I wanted to experience that. So I started going live. I started recording everything, and being there, everything was like set up, like they had computers like set up, and there was people signing in, and you pretty much have to create an account on their website. So here, let me backtrack real quick. So we walk up, we got the early bird. It's like $30. You get a badge that says early bird, and it's also like a goodie bag that you get. Pretty much that gives you access to 8 a.m. to get in. You get a wristband as well, right? That wristband is also like, if you don't get the early bird pass, then you get a wristband. You know, that's to grant you access in and out of the building during the event. So after we paid and we got all our stuff, you know, inside of the bag there's like goodies and stuff like that, a deck of cards, brochures, and information regarding like the show and local things around. So then after that, we went ahead and we went over to the computers. That's where we register. So we made an account. We started to log in every build that we were bringing. I brought 5 builds, so I had to do 5 entries. I had to detail the information of the model, the make, what went into the model, like specify, you know, the paint, anything that you want people to know about your build, right? Once all those are there, then the system generates an entry ID. They will print that out for you right there, and then they'll cut them up, small little squares, and then they hand that over to you. And that is the form that you pretty much need to fold in half, exposing and showing your ID, and then putting that tucking it right under your car. So this way, you know, as people are walking around, the spectators, they look at their car, and they could read in the bottom what you wrote regarding your car, like what went into it. Because a lot of the times, sometimes we don't know that, oh, this car was kit bashed, this car, you know, it has parts from this, headlights from this and that, you know, we don't know that. So it's pretty cool to enter all that stuff. The pros of doing it at home, obviously, is you could have your car right there. Even the things that you forget what you did to it, you can like just stare at it and be like, oh yeah, I remember, boom, and you write everything down, right? When you're doing it there at the registration, you don't have your models with you, you know, you're just kind of filling it in. So it's all by thought right there. So there might be a highly chance you might forget something, you know. But either way, we ended up taking care of it. We handled it. We got our paperwork. And, you know, some of the guys were still doing their thing, you know, filling out their forms and all that stuff. So then I started walking around. I was like, yo, I'm gonna walk around, get lost, see what I find, you know. So then I'll meet up with the guys. So then I started, you know, just seeing that, oh, cool, they're gonna have merch like t-shirts. They're gonna have, you know, oh, this is the section for the vendors, you know. And I wasn't sure if I could go in there or not, you know. I was a little like, oh, dang, I don't know. So then all this is on the live video. Everything what I'm explaining right now is in the live, and I'm gonna link it. So you guys are listening to this, if you're very curious as to like what we were up to, what we were doing during the live, I recorded it. Like a majority of it, I recorded it. So then we finally, I meet up with all the guys, and you know, we were hesitant, but we made our way inside the room. We were like, let's just check it out, you know. And then we were in there, and then all of a sudden my phone dies. So the battery, it went out. So I was like, dang, I guess I'm not going live anymore. And that was it for that. But we still hung out, and then we stepped out, and then we started kind of just messing around, you know. We started asking people, like the staff, like, oh, so what time do you guys open, or what time is all this going down, or what's happening? And they were kind of like, oh, well, everything is gonna start, the early birds at 8 a.m. and general admission, or people that didn't get the early bird, they could come in at 10. So then we kept asking, oh, it was this lady, we kept asking her, you know, bless her heart too, she was such a sport, because we were messing with her. We're like, what about these shirts, can we buy these now? And she's like, no, till tomorrow, you gotta buy them tomorrow, you know, and that's all we have. So we were like, oh man, that's it, dang, so we can't buy them right now? And she's like, no. And we were like, all right. So then we started like talking amongst ourselves, like with Armando, and we were like messing around, saying, all right, so right now when we leave, let's go to the store and let's go buy a tent, and then we're gonna camp out right here by the door, so this way we can get here early enough to get a shirt. And she was listening, like, wait, what? And then we were like, yeah. And then, oh look, there's 3 doors, so we could put, because we don't know which one they're gonna open, so everyone could post up in each door in front just to camp out and make sure that we can get inside so we could buy the shirt. And she was like, poor thing, she didn't know what to say. And they were like, nah, we're just playing around. We're not going to do that. And she's like, oh, and then she was just laughing. You know, I think we had her there. She thought, damn, these guys, what? They're really going to camp out? And then I told that to somebody else too. I was like, hey, so it's cool that we could just camp out right here. So that way we could like be here for the early bird and everything. And then they're like, oh no, you don't want to do that. He's all, sometimes they let the dogs out. And I was like, oh damn, all right, never mind. I won't be doing that then. So it was just fun, man. It was fun talking to people and stuff. And you know, I don't know. I don't know if it's like just like what happens when I'm with my friends or what, but a lot of the times when we go places and we're chilling and we're talking to people, we always like to mess around or like joke around or play. And sometimes like our friends or people that we meet, you know, for the first time, I think they take us very seriously, like with what we're saying, that they're like, for real? Like, oh damn. Or they don't even say for real. And then I'm like, nah, we're just playing. And they're like, oh damn, you know, it's a trip, like that reaction. You know, out here it doesn't really work. Like I always tell my friends stuff and they already know, like, nah, I know you're messing around. I know that's not true. You know, and even some people you don't even know that they already know, because I don't know, maybe it's everybody kind of does that out here or something. But it was just funny, like, you know, when stuff like that would happen. So then, you know, after the show, they were like, I kept telling Dennis, like, hey, I heard that people get together. You know, I heard people get together at the hotel and all this and that. And I want to check that out. You know, I want to see what that's about. He's like, yeah, that's where we're going. I was like, oh, dope. So we ended up mobbing over there to the host hotel thing. And, you know, had to go to the hotel back. Dennis drove me back to grab my battery, my extended battery. Got that connected, started powering my phone. And then we walk in, and then I went live again. And we walked into the venue, and I started recording like the vibe of everybody there, chopping it up. And from what I heard that there was a huge crowd in there. It did look huge to me, you know, but I didn't know how it gets every year. So they were like, damn, there's a lot of people here. So, you know, everyone who's there is a scale model builder, people that are staying in the hotel and everything. And we were all chilling and stuff. And then at some point we went outside, and then there was more people out there and stuff. So, you know, that's where you get to meet a lot more people, you know, and I did get to meet more people in there that I follow on Instagram and YouTube. Chopped it up for a little bit right there. And then we're just hanging out, you know, with friends. Everyone's, you know, having their beers and stuff. Super chill environment, you know. And right after that, then it was like, you know, at some point it's going to end, right? I don't know if it was like 9 p.m. they were going to end it, but it was just going to come to a close. Some people were starting to leave and whatnot, and we hung out as late as we could. But then we know, yo, we got to bounce too, so what's up? So then George was like, yo, all right, let's all link up. You know, he told a few friends, let's link up back at my spot where he was staying at. All right, cool. So then we were like, it was one of those things that we were like, well, if we're gonna go, let's bring our builds. So then we're like, cool. So since it was on the way, we were able to hit our spot, grab our stuff, and head over to his spot. So we grabbed our bags, we grabbed our builds, and then we brought them over to George's spot, and we all just hung out. So this was it was like a after party, pre-party kind of thing, you know. So we all started busting out our models on this huge counter that they had there at this spot. And then I went live again, and I started recording everything, and then I started to chop it up with people, you know, little by little. But man, time went by fast, like quick, that I didn't get to like record everybody, like chopping it up with everybody. But I got to chop it up as much as what I could, you know, with people. So that was cool, you know. We did our thing, and we hung out. And then Shane, our friend Shane, was there, Man Cave Models. He was hanging out. He brought out some of his builds right there too. So we got to see that. Man, I even took a shot with Shane. He loaded me up. He's like, here you go, bro. I was like, oh, man, what? All right, boom. I couldn't say no to him, I was like, let's do it. And then that was it. I had to keep it chill because the next day was the show. By the time we got back to the hotel, it was like midnight. And we were still riding on West Coast time. So for it being midnight, I would say it would be like 9 p.m. back home. So it was like 3 hour difference. So we were still awake. We were still like hyped. Like, oh, it's tomorrow. So then we pretty much were just getting everything ready, like our stuff laid out for the next day. Then I told myself, nah, I gotta go to sleep, man. Like, I'm gonna feel crazy the next day. Fell asleep. And we got up at 6. And we linked up at the bottom. We ate some stuff to eat. And then we headed out. We probably got over there around... Wait, what was it? What time did we get there? I don't know if we got there like 7:30 or 8, Like we kicked it for a bit. But then we headed out there. And once we were walking in, it was like, oh, we're here, crazy. We're here. We're going to walk in. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, all right, here we go. So we walk in and we make it all the way to the section. We had to show our badge, our wristband. We get in and we walked all the way to our table. All the tables are starting to, fill up with cars. And the table that we selected, there was like nothing there in that section. We're like, perfect. So we start setting up models right there. And, setting them up. Armando starts putting all these like platforms and stuff, like with lights, different things. Started putting his cars. And then after him was, I think it was Juan, him, and then Luis, and then myself. And then I was next to George. And then Shane was also next to us there. And also Renato Silva was there, Dr. Nitrous on Instagram. He set up right there with us too. And also on the other side across from Armando was Josh McCall. He goes by Small Scale Model Cars. I could be saying that wrong, but I'll clear it up later. But man, he had this like really dope, it was like a UFO base that looked pretty cool, but then on top he has this nice like 70s style lowrider Impala, like a 1970s Impala, beautiful, with these like ribbons, like pattern that are on the sides that look wavy. That I'm like, man, like I gotta pick your brain, bro. You gotta tell me how to do that. I gotta learn, at least attempt it once, how to learn how to do that. And I'm trying to think who else was with us. We all just kind of, and Dennis Matthews too. He was like between George and myself and Man Cave Models. So we were all in the same section right there. And as we're setting up, one of the workers there for the event, they set up they were setting up some things, but they put the paper where it said like custom and lowriders all right there. And I thought that was dope, Damn, I felt like I was in a sneeze right now. It didn't happen. So here, let me drink some coffee right here, guys. Let me load up real quick. Oh, this is good coffee. So, all right. So then we were set up all right there. Once we were all done set up, I was like, with Luis, we were kind of like, all right, what do you want to do right now? And he was just like, hey, let's go take a look at the vendors. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And it's fun hanging out with Luis. Luis is a young dude, and we're older than him. I'm 42 years old. I would say maybe most of the guys that we're kicking it with, they're probably around the same age. I think like Wes is one of the young ones. He's 34. And Luis is like, man, I want to say Luis is probably like 21, 22. He's one of the young ones out of our crew that kicks it with us. But he's so mature, like so mature. And I give a lot of props to that kid because he flew out by himself. He did a lot of things by himself that I think a lot of people nowadays at his age would need a lot of help, like by their parents or their brother or someone, Nothing wrong with that, Nothing wrong with that, because it's like me. I'd be helping out my daughter when she's at that age. Here, let me book your flight, or whatever, right? Because there are kids, but this kid likes to do it all himself. I give him props, and it's fun hanging out with them. And he was just like, "Yo, like, let's go." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, let's go check it out." So we're just looking around at everything, at the models and stuff, and man, I was blown away by all the prices on items and accessories, and there was just so much. It was crazy, I was telling my friend Javier, I was saying, bro, the feeling I got at some point from looking at everything, it was like feeling like you were a little kid at like KB Toys or like some kind of toy store that you knew you were only there for a little bit amount of time because your parents or whoever was going to be like, come on, we got to go. And you wanted to look at stuff, and also at the same time you feel like you have to use the restroom, and you're like, oh, like everything's bad timing. Like you're like, dude, like But the thing about that, it's not that I felt like I needed to go to the restroom. It's just, it was that feeling of like, all right, let me scan through all the kids fast, because there's like hundreds of people here that are gonna probably grab that kid before I do, or that part or whatever before I do, right? It was that kind of a vibe, like, but that's like the feeling I was putting in my head because this is the first time I'm there, right? And I'm just blown away by the prices, and I'm like, what? Like, sealed kits at this price back home? Nah, that's not a reality, There was some kits that were $10, $15, $20, $25, and I was like, wow, like Impalas, muscle cars, like you name it, like cheap prices. And one of my friends, we met up with this dude Raiden. He does some badass 70s style builds as well. We met up with him in person, and he'll be a future guest on the podcast too. Hung out with him for a pretty good time there. He even helped me look for a car that I was looking for. So anyway, I was telling him, bro, like, this is crazy. Like, the prices are so cheap. And he's like, yeah, man, it's just like you got to think, we're in a different area. Like, not everybody's really building those kind of cars or those kind of builds, they're doing other stuff. Like, everyone's into their own thing. And I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't even think about it like that, but you're right. It makes a lot of sense, and we're all hanging out and stuff, and then I was like, all right, let me take pictures, let me go live, and all these things, right? I started early on doing it, but then at some point, I think it was like around like 9 or 10, and I stopped recording. I just stopped doing all that stuff, right? I felt overwhelmed, and then I was walking with Luis, and then Luis is like, I started to feel kind of weird. And then Luis tells me, dang, I'm starting to feel a little dizzy. And I'm like, oh, for real? I was like, dude, I'm feeling the same way. I was like, I don't know. Like, I didn't even know how to describe it. Like, right now that you said that, you read my mind. Like, that's how I feel. I've been feeling like that right now. And I probably wasn't even going to say nothing to you. I was going to just write it out. And I was like, man, that's weird. And then I was like telling him, do you think it's probably because we haven't had that much sleep and we're just so excited that we're here? And he was like, I don't know. And then I was like, dang, what the hell? So then I was like telling him, yeah, I don't think I'm going to record anything or take pictures. I'm just going to chill. And maybe I need to step out of the room or something. So then I ran into Dennis and I told him, I'm like, yeah, I feel kind of weird. And then he's like, yeah, let's just go kick it over here. I was like, yeah, I probably need to get water or something, I need to hydrate. I need to, I remember bringing even like a banana from the venue. I mean, from our hotel, from breakfast. I was like, let me eat that. Let me drink a lot of water, and let me hydrate. Let me re-up. And after, I think my conclusion to this, why I was feeling like that, for sure it was like not enough sleep. And also I was, it was like the first time I was saying this word, because I never say it really. I was very stimulated. You know, back then I used to hear people say that, like, oh, don't let your kid watch too much TV, or oh, they're too small to be watching that on YouTube or whatever. And I'd be like, why? And they'd be like, oh, it's because it's too much stimulation for their mind or their eyes or whatever, right? And I was, stimulation, what the hell? Like, I never would say that word, you know? So over time, you know, you hear it a lot, people saying it and whatnot, and you learn about it. But I was like, well, I haven't experienced that, you know, I don't know. Now I feel like I experienced it, because it was like you're running into friends, you're running into new people are coming up to you saying what's up, and now you're like, oh, what's up? And at the same time you're being pulled in different directions. Hey, I want you to meet so and so, and then, hey, I found this kid, check it out. And then you want to go live, and then you want to take pictures, and then you want to go eat, and you want to sit down but you can't. So there was just so much going on in that moment that was the overstimulated, that it was like, all right, I felt like an iPhone going, or a phone in general, going hot from using it too much, and the phone's getting hot, that you have to turn off the phone and let it shut off so it cools down, and then restart the phone. So at some point, you know, thank you to Dennis, man. He was looking out for us, because it was like, I think it was like 11. And he's like, hey guys, let's go. You guys down to go get something to eat? Let's go get something to eat. You know, and we're like we weren't even thinking about that. And he's all, yeah, let's all. So we all gathered up and we took off. We walked across the street to this spot. I think it was called Cutie. And, you know, that was the moment we got to sit down and relax and eat. I think it was like chicken fingers or chicken sandwich, and, you know, fries, all that good stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna get a soda. I want like a Coke, you know. I need to chill. So we ate, we hung out, we relaxed, and it was cool because we didn't rush eating or nothing. We just took our time. Like that, in that moment, that's where I felt like, in my mind, like I entered the Matrix right there. In that moment, it was like I stuck out my hand and I froze time right there. That's what I felt like right there. I know I'm exaggerating, but just go along with me. So we finish eating and we're walking back, and then I realize, okay, it's getting close to like noontime now. This show ends, I think it ends about 4, because I think they needed to be cleaned up by 5, right? So we get in there, and as soon as I step back in there, I'm just like, all right, we're going live. I know what I'm going to do. I'm focused. I already ate. I already rested. The dizziness, all that, whatever, is gone. And I'm just going to go and do the rounds now. If I'm going to buy something, I'll buy something now. Like now I'm really focused now. But in that moment, it was like I'm going live, I'm recording, and I probably went live like 3 different times, but most of those videos span about an hour and a half of just holding the phone, doing some commentary, looking at the vendors, looking at the models. I really wanted to show you guys everything right there. I wanted you to feel like you were there. And I got some nice comments, some kind words from viewers telling me thank you. Some of them weren't able to make it, that told me, dude, I live like 30 minutes away from there and I couldn't make it, but thank you for, I'm watching it right now, and it's like, thank you for at least, you know, showing me this is like the closest I could get to it, right? So things like that is what was motivating me, like, yo, like, I got you, don't trip. And I just wanted to share a lot of those moments right there. I wanted you to feel like you were with me right there, like I was taking you with me, you know. It's like anything, you coming over, hey, let's go hang out, or let's go here, let's go there. Those kind of vibes, right? So at some point I would stop the recording, stop going live, and then, I take a little break, I take some photographs, take a little break, talk to some people, take a little break, and then go and make some purchases right there. There was a couple gentlemen that were selling Johan kits, parts, and t-shirts. I made my way over there. I've never once in my life have owned a Johan kit, right? Obviously, there's a lot of history. These are vintage kits, a lot of things that came on early on in the model scene back in the day. And, now, 2025, for sure, a lot of these kits are expensive, because they never redid them or they're just hard to find. But here's what happened. I pretty much was looking around. I've been telling you guys on YouTube that I've been on this like Mopar kick. I've been fanboying over all these cars and the wheels and the engines, everything, I've been educating myself with all this stuff that's coming out, or that's been out. But at that moment, I was like looking around and I was going like, man, like I do see some Barracudas, I do see some Plymouth cars and stuff like that, but I feel like I could find these online already, and I could get these from my distributor later if I decide to, right? So I don't want to like get these. I want to get something else. So I kept looking and looking and looking, and finally, when I came across the Johan booth, the guy had a Barracuda, a vintage Barracuda Johan kit that was still sealed, and I was like, what? And then he had this 1964 a Plymouth car as well, that I was like, whoa, this looks cool. The box art looked cool. Everything about it looked cool. So one of them was like $80. The Cuda was $80. I think the other one was 75 or 70. And then he also had them in bags too. And I was like, oh man, these are dope. I don't know which one to get, the ones in the bag or the ones in the boxes, because I really like the boxes. Just the way they look, the vintage box look and everything, right? So then I was like, man, I got to get the boxes. So I got the boxes. I got a t-shirt. Even Armando stepped in. He bought a kit as well from them. And this is the first time that I bought Johan kits. So I was really very happy with what I purchased. I was like, dude, like these are awesome, And I also found a AMT 1950 Impala AMT, 58 Impala, one of the original first 58s that were created in this beautiful blue, shiny blue styrene. It's a trip, because even the guy told me, he's all, that's like one of the best like builds, like prints or whatever that came out of the molds, because they were the first ones, so I was really happy about that. Scored that. I also bought a 1962 Impala Revell kit. It was one that I never owned. I picked that one up, and then later I bought this like Tom Daniels kit, but that came out later, like that's all on video how that came about. And pretty much I saw a build on the table that was a Tom Daniels model kit. This guy painted it in this beautiful pink color, looked like a candy pink, that just popped to me. I just love the exaggeration of it and everything. I took as many photographs as I could of the model, and then I talked to Raiden and I said, hey man, you see that model right there? That model is just popping out to me. It's calling my name. Like, it's just, I want that kit. I need to find that kit. And he's like, oh man, you're into that kind of stuff? That stuff's cool. He's like, dude, I've seen that kit out there. Somebody's selling it. So then he's all, I think it's over there. So then he's like, come on, let's go. So he took me on a hunt. we went hunting for this kit, and we couldn't find it. But then he started showing me all these other ones that were also Tom Daniel, and just, we're just looking around. And then finally, I was just like, I kind of like was on my own at some point looking around, and I was because I went live again, and bam, during the live, I ended up finding it. Some guy was selling it, so I bought it from him, and I think I recorded the whole incident, the whole transaction, and everything. So it was cool, So that was another kit. So I brought about 5 kits home from there. So that was pretty awesome. Hey, let me drink some more coffee, guys. So yeah, the show overall, I mean, there was about close to 1,000 entries at the show. Half of the room was all vendors. Every vendor was carrying some really awesome stuff. The tables, I mean, lots of heavy hitters, guys. I'm telling you, and I mean in every genre of category, there was some heavy hitters, dude. Like, it was, I've never seen anything like that. I know that, I bet that every show in every country here in the US, in every town, has at least 1 to 5 like elite model builders that every year they come in and they bring their builds to the tables, and everybody's always blown away and knows like, yo, these are the dudes right here, right? And they're the ones who inspire everybody. This right here felt like if like all those 5 people from every area came in and boom, set their stuff together. And it was just like heavy hitter after heavy hitter. It was crazy. I was like, wow. And it's cool because everything was like collectively placed pretty close together there. I don't want to say all cramped, but there wasn't like large gaps or anything like that. Also, the tables looked like they had some type of PVC piping on the bottom that was making the tables level higher, which when you walked up to the model would probably be more up to your chest, neck area, or maybe more, like the chest, as opposed to the waist area, having you to hunch over every time. It was more like you just barely lean in, or you take your pictures from where you're at, So I was like just amazed looking at the builds. I was walking around with my Scale Riders wooden like tokens and putting them on tables of the builds that I was admiring a lot. I was putting like gifts, like those were like my little keepsake gifts right there that I was giving people. And yeah, I was just mobbing around, like looking at everything and stuff, and it was cool, man. It was, I had such a blast. I came back very inspired. I haven't felt like this since the one time I went to Japan in 2017. I came back very inspired, and now, coming back from this show, I came back very inspired as well. Not just building, but in everything. It just like a lot of retrospect. It just changes a lot of stuff. Even like the mission statement with my business, everything. It just overall. And now I'm looking forward to what's to come and what we're gonna move forward towards. Those are the things I'm excited about. We obviously also made new friends there as well. And it's just interesting, man. Everybody, when you talk to people, everybody has their their way of thinking and thoughts and so forth. And a lot of times they kick down knowledge on things that you're like, oh man, I never saw it that way, or I never thought about it that way. And a lot of things make sense. That it helps you, man. It helps you. And those are a lot of the pluses, as far as going to the trip. One of the things, after, when it was time to wrap up, before it was time to wrap up, they announced the awards, the top 10, and then also they had like 3 specialty awards for people that got selected on that. And then they also had one of the top 10 was also like a junior award too. When I saw the table of the juniors, it's cool, man, to see that, because all shows do that, but it's just cool to always see that, because these are the kids that have interest, that want to build. It's really hard to find that, to have a kid that wants to really like attempt and try to build a model. And it was really cool to see that on the tables, and also to you want to motivate them as well. One of the kids got one of the awards there, so that was awesome for him there. And also want to congratulate Armando Flores. He ended up getting one of the top 10 awards there too, for one of his lowrider cars. And I told him, dude, I voted for that one too. That's one of my favorite ones right there. There was so many amazing cars that were there. There's a couple gentlemen that were there. One of them I met, and his friend, I didn't get to meet him, but I do follow him on social media and stuff. And it wasn't until I saw him, like when he was awarded, I was like, oh dang, that's that dude. And man, these two guys, man, they're on a whole nother level, bros. Like, it's crazy, man, I can't remember their names right now. Later, I'm gonna have to post their links and stuff on the descriptions of what I'm talking about. So, hey, this is a teaser, all right, guys? So this way you guys also can do your research and check them out. But anyway, these dudes, amazing, bro. Amazing work. They did some like NASCAR vehicles, highly detailed stuff. I know a lot of people, sometimes mention, oh, we don't like NASCAR or whatever. It might be a joke or whatever. I mean, like, I don't get offended by it or whatever. I know it's all jokes aside. It's something like serious or whatever. I don't even think people get offended by it or whatever. But to see the stuff that these dudes were doing was like insane. Like, one of them had the model split in half, like exposing the whole half, and then the other half, it shows you the full car. He had it on a turntable, was spinning. And I was like, whoa. Like, it was just crazy, right? And when we were doing the live, I was recording his car, and he came over. I got to meet him too. It's just right now I can't remember the name right now, but later I'll bring it up. And Hack Job Hobbies was there. Finally got to meet him, and he was talking to him, and I was recording them a little bit, and then I finally kind of jumped in their conversation, because one of the things that like the guys were telling me, like Dennis, Armando, and Luis, they were saying, hey, I trip out, like, those guys that build those cars are very highly detailed. You could not see smudges of glue or like glue marks or anything. Everything just fits in like clean. And then we're like, damn, that's a good. So they were saying, like, I wonder what kind of glues they use. So then I asked him the question. I had to like ask him, and yeah, he told us right there on the spot. I recorded it, and then we DM'd each other later on Instagram. But I'm gonna hit him back that question again, because I remember a couple things, but I kind of forgot what was the other thing he kind of said. So hopefully he could, tell us the secrets of what. Because if this dude is killing it like that with that, even that right there with glue, I'm pretty sure that could help me a lot. That way I don't have smudges and things on my cars right there. So I think that would be pretty dope. What else? So then it was nice when they did the awards. They had them laid out. They had everybody come over. They named them, and they had to go bring their build. I thought that was dope. You don't get to see that at most shows. I mean, some do it, some don't. People just walk up, they grab the award, and then they walk away. But you don't get to see, what car did he do, right? So, boom, the awards were all given. And then after I recorded like, all right, everyone's taking off and everything. And then, you know, we took off too, packed all up. We want to go eat. And we hung out with some of the guys. We were kicking it with Wes Salazar as well. And we were just all chilling, you know. And I don't know. It was like Armando, he said some words. And because everybody was telling him, like, man, congratulations on that award and that thing and that, you know. And then Armando was saying, like, you know, I had a good time. He was telling this to all of us there on the table. He's like, yeah, I had a good time at the show and everything. He's like, but like me coming to the show, it's not like my intentions aren't like, oh, I'm working on this model and I'm gonna go there because I want to win. Like, you know. Like, my goal is to win. He's like, it's not even that. It's more, I just want to share with everybody what we're doing in California. Like, the flavor of lowriders in California and like the styles and the paint jobs, things like that. So this way, you know, people get to see this because a lot of the times, you know, the people that see these, especially here, don't get to go too much to the West Coast, to our side. So if I could visit your town and I could bring this as you know, to put it down, like to present it so people could see, you know, that's great. So this way, I hope it inspires people or gives people ideas of what they can create and make, you know. And it just, I don't know, I thought that was pretty dope. Because, I mean, this show, everybody, and I almost feel like everybody has that. Everybody who was there. Because everybody who I met that was there was very humble, super chill, very chill people when I was talking to them. And even like, you know, I follow a lot of them on social media. And a lot of them are super chill. You know, they're building at a competitive level. That's the thing. They're building at a high competitive level where you could tell, like, damn, like these dudes are just killing it, like on that high level stuff. But to them, that's just how they build. That's like, they're on that level, you know? And they're not like putting themselves on a pedestal or anything, like to be like, oh, I'm number one, I'm the best. They're not saying any of that whatsoever. They just build the build. And they'll participate in everything, and you know, a lot of times they win awards, a lot of awards, you know, and they're just like, dang, like that's cool. But then, like a show like this, there's a lot of heavy hitters, like it's crazy, like, you know. And so I thought that was pretty cool that, you know, he said that, and you know, I know a lot of people don't like to compete. They like to just have fun, build at home, and also bring their build and hang out with people and chill with everybody. And obviously, I mean, there's people that are like, yo, I want to compete. Like I'm in this, you know, to compete. And that's cool too. But I would just say, just don't go too extreme. Like, don't let that, because I almost feel like if you go too hard, being like, yo, like, nah, like, F that. Like, I'm going to win, dude. Like, I'm going to do this, and mark my words, I'm going to win this because I got this, right? Like, that kind of attitude, right? And let's say you don't win, because then there's someone else that's like, just got it that day, right? They won it that day. I don't want that to make you be like, oh, well, you know what? Man, this is rigged. Or like, man, you know what? I worked so hard and I didn't win. Like, I'm done. You know, I don't even want to do this. So this ain't fun anymore. Because then you really lost if you have that kind of mindset, like from giving up, you know. But that's like, I think that's like going beyond the 100, you know. If you just dial it back a little, do go with that competitive edge because you want to level up your skills and everything. And you know, you want to bring home some hardware. But if you just tone it back a little, and even if you don't win, you'll be like, it's all good, you know. like just getting props from people was enough. Like even that, I was like, wow. Like some people gave me props on my build, you know. That's like cool. That made my day, right? But don't let it make you like quit or make you get all mad or whatever, you know. Because we always say, you know, model building is supposed to be an escape from our stresses in life and everything, you know, escape from reality, you know. That's what takes us away. It makes us like focus and stuff. And, you know, a lot of the times when people want to level up, there's different options you can do. You can either enter a build-off, like a friendly build-off with your friends. You could do a group build. Or you could go to a show, take your model, get inspired, and go back home to the drawing board. Go to the show, not bring any models, but make it a mission to talk to the cars that get your attention, to the modeler that built it, the artist. So if there's someone that you're like, dude, look at this right here, and if you find who they are, ask them questions as to how they got it like that and whatnot. What are they using and stuff? All those things are going to help you like level up, you know. Take photographs, get inspired. You know, coming back from this show, man, it made me just like I don't know. It's really hard to describe, you know, because I've always had love for this hobby. I've always had respect for everybody and all the genres and stuff. It's just, I'm just excited right now as to like, you know, getting into like the muscle car, Mopar / hot rod stuff, you know. And man, I want to build like every kind of style. Honestly, I want to build everything right now. But with such limited time, I got to dedicate myself to like a couple or a few builds and then move on, right? But this is such an exciting time right now to be building. Like it is, dude. Like definitely. You know, I'm hoping to go back next year. I did take a flyer with me. I have posted it on my Instagram, posted it on the Facebook. It's on YouTube as well. And, you know, last night I was live doing the magazine preview. And I also recorded some videos regarding information regarding the shows and stuff. So if you guys have not check out the YouTube channel. I've been cranking out more content on YouTube than on Instagram nowadays. I kind of been like posting more and more stuff there. I'm just having fun with it. It's just, for me, it's a lot easier to express myself and show stuff and talk about stuff on video. Typing, I'm really limited. And then pictures, I'm very limited. But if I could, you know, talk about something and show it, that's like a big plus for me right there. So check out the YouTube channel. But yeah, once the show was done, everything was done. We went back to the hotel. I pretty much checked everything that I purchased, like a little inventory check kind of vibe thing. And then after that, it was just like, all right, I see everything I bought. Now it's time to pack everything up. I managed to pack all 5 kits on my carry-ons. And we went home. Everything went smooth. Got the Uber. Got to the airport just in time. Checked in, out. Got on our plane. And we were back in LA by like, I would say like 9:30 in the morning. We were already in LA. And I was like, awesome, guys. And, you know, we had to say goodbye. And that was it. And then we just went our own ways. And it was like 10:30 by the time I was already in my house in the morning. Trip out. And I had the whole day to kick it with my family. You know, just what I promised my daughter. We were going to go do Halloween trick-or-treating around town. We went ahead and we did that on Main Street. And I was running on fumes by then. And then I ended up going to sleep early. So we're back on track now. We're back. Everything's back to normal. On yesterday Monday, I was able to pack everybody's order. Got those out. And, you know, I got some more orders I need to package. And then, you know, right now I'm going to pick up some product that I received. I'm excited about that. So stay tuned. You know, anything you guys need, scaleriders.com. If there's something you're looking for, just hit me up and I'll let you know if I'm going to be able to get it or not. info@scaleriders.com. But I'm going to let you guys go now. This was episode number 271. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is my recap. Highly recommend it. Next year, 2026, a lot of my friends out here in the West Coast and different parts of the country, please make it out to this show. If you can't, please come out. This is a show I would highly recommend. Had a phenomenal experience. Shout out and props to everybody there at ACME that held it down. The whole staff, everybody was really nice, very helpful. Had a blast. Great experience. Everything was smooth. And to me, it felt like it was meant to be. As smooth as everything went, it was meant to be. So I'm really happy about that. And hopefully I get to go to another state and experience an event, in another state as well. So thank you guys for listening. Stay tuned. Check us out on YouTube. For all things YouTube, check us out right there, because lately that's been more of my home base right now, posting on stuff right there. And obviously, Instagram's always been the number one home base, but it's a trip right now. It's kind of like a 60-40, but we'll see what's up. But all right, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go. All right, peace out. Later.